We all remember the European Super League, right? The league where a majority of the top clubs in Europe were going to join together in one league, and everyone was really happy about it. Well, today, we've put it into Football Manager. Well, kind of. Anyway, I'm going to be simming forward 200 years into the future to see what would have happened if the European Super League had have come into fruition. First off, I'll start by explaining the competition structure. So we have 6 tiers of the European Super League. The first 3 tiers only have the one division, but once you get to tier 4, 5 and 6, they're split off into 4 separate sections. So in Division 4, there's Division 4A, 4B, 4C and 4D. And it's the same for Division 5 and Division 6. It's basically the same as the English Lower League setup, with your National League North and National League South, except there's 4. Hopefully I've explained that well enough to you guys, but if I haven't, I'm sure you'll get it later in the video. Moving on, there's also a cup that incorporates every single team in this database, which is over 300. Also, if you were wondering how teams were added into this database, it is based off the reputation. So all the most reputable clubs in the Football Manager database have been added into the European Super League. Also, don't ask me why there's no Turkish teams involved in this. I have no idea. Now, as I said before, I'm going to be simming 200 years into the future. So let's get started and hope the Saudi Arabian clubs don't snap up all the good players and ruin the video. I'll meet back up with you guys in 25 years and let's see what's going on. Okay, we are 25 years into the future and let me tell you this. Some interesting things have happened. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first year of the European Super League was extremely close, and as you can see, Arsenal did win it. They won an extremely tight fight with Barcelona, Man City and also Real Madrid coming out victors by 4 points over 4th place. After that, it was Real Madrid going back to back in a three-peat, and yeah, they kind of just dominated those years. No one really got too close. But after that, it absolutely bounced around for a few years. Man City, Arsenal, Bayern, Chelsea, just bouncing around the league a lot. Heading over to the past winners tab though, we can see that Chelsea have been the most dominant team of the European Super League so far, winning it 9 times. The next best is Real Madrid winning it 4 times, and then you got Bayern winning it 3 times, and then it just kind of gets scattered around the place. But a very interesting year was 2034-35 when Aston Villa did become champions by 1 point. And it was a really close title fight as well. They had a horrible goal difference compared to everyone else, and there was 2 teams behind them who only lost by a single point. Apart from that, we can see that Chelsea won 5 in 6 years, which is really exciting for them. But overall, I wouldn't say there's too many surprises in the winners list. The only real surprise I can see though is Zenit coming in 2nd place. Now moving over to the cup, if we go to the past winners list, we can see that Man City and Chelsea have really kind of shared the honours here. Some notable teams that have actually made it to the final though include Rostov, who started the simulation in Div 4, moved down to Div 6 and have made it all the way up to Div 2 as of late. Speaking of teams that have moved up and down the divisions, let's go have a look and see if there's any fallen giants or surprise inclusions. Having a look at the current European Super League, there are a few teams that shouldn't really be there, I shouldn't have thought. Starting with Union SG, in terms of competitions, they started in the worst division, Division 6, and now they look to be a mainstay in the European Super League. After Union SG, we have Brentford, who finished 13th this season somehow. And they started down all the way in Division 4 and made it into the European Super League really fast before having a few years in Division 2 and 3 before moving all the way back up to ESL this season. Taking a look now at teams that have been relegated who you might be a bit surprised by, we have Aston Villa, who won the European Super League a few years ago in 15th place in Division 3. So I'm quite unsure as to what's going on here. But we can see that they had so many years in the European Super League before getting relegated and then getting relegated again. And after their year where they finished first, they finished 21st the very next season, which is almost relegation. In terms of other fallen teams, you can say the Scottish Giants, Celtic and Rangers have really struggled. They both started down in Division 3, but since then, Rangers have found themselves as of late in Division 5, which is horrible for them. And Celtic actually went all the way down to Division 6 before making it up last season back into Division 5. But they've been a real yo-yo club around the bottom 2 divisions. Okay, and one more really interesting one. We have Lyon, who started in Division 2, have fallen all the way down to Division 6, which is just a really, really shocking state of affairs. Okay, now we've looked at the last 25 years of the European Super League. Let's give it another 25 years and see if there's any more upsets or domination that takes place. Okay, we're now 50 years into the future and something that is absolutely unbelievable has happened. It's really unrealistic. That's right, Spurs have just won the European Super League. Spurs have won a trophy. Panic stations, everybody. Okay, now in all seriousness, good on them for finally winning something, but having a look at the league, there is a few real surprises in there. First of all, Las Palmas. They started in Division 5 and quickly made their way up into the European Super League in 2040 and then 2044, and then have been a real Div 2, Div 3 team, and then as of late, they've made it all the way back up into the European Super League and have been a real mid-table team. And when we last checked in, Union SG had been doing well, and since then they have been doing really well. Staying around the European Super League pretty much the whole time. They've been in here the last 20 or so years, which is just incredible. Some other surprises in terms of the European Super League this year is Man City and Newcastle getting relegated and Man United winning the promotion playoff. So the Manchester team's not doing so well, and you would have thought that Man City, after winning a few European Super Leagues, would be able to stay up forever, but it doesn't look like so. Okay, and when we last checked in, Liverpool had just won, and since then, it looks like it's been a real Barcelona and Real Madrid type dominance. They've won pretty much most of the league since then, with some English clubs coming into fruition as of late. Okay, and in terms of teams that have won it the most, we have Real Madrid in second place somehow with 11 Super Leagues, and Chelsea are actually winning it. They've won 12 Super Leagues so far, which I wasn't expecting at the start of this sim. In third place, we also have Barcelona, who have won 9 Super Leagues, so pretty decent from them as well. Now, in terms of other really crazy wins that we've seen, it has been Anderlecht have been the only real non-giant club that have won the Super League so far in 2053-54, where they won it by a single point. And after that, the only real other surprise I can see in there is Union actually finished third in 2060. Moving over to the Cup, and since we last checked, a whole bunch of teams have won it. I'm not really going to go into too much depth, as it looks like teams don't really take it that seriously, with Young Boys and Utrecht winning a few. Not sure how that happened. But moving down the tables, there's a massive surprise. Bayern have fallen all the way down into the third division. Having a look at the competition history, they did have one relegation in 2051, but since then they kind of struggled. They were up in 7th, then they got relegated, and since then they've really struggled, not even being good enough for Division 2. Having a look at other clubs that have really taken a downturn, Wolfsburg have been shocking. Most recently, they finished last place in Division 6A, which is just horrific. Having a look at the World Cup, nothing really out of the ordinary has happened, besides Brazil winning 4 in a row and Belgium going back-to-back. Mexico actually did come runners-up in 2046, and Romania, who finished runners-up in 2038. But besides that, there hasn't really been that many surprises in terms of the World Cup. Now we've had a taste of 50 years into the future, let's skip forward another 50 until we're 100 years into the future in the year 2123. The year is 2123. We're 100 years into the future, and taking a look, some things have gotten pretty strange. Starting off with this year, Bournemouth have just won the European Super League and Birmingham have come second. When we last left off, Tottenham had just won their first European Super League in the year 2073. And since then, let's go through the past winners. So after Tottenham won, it looks like it went back to normal with Chelsea and Real Madrid really dominating the European Super League. Chelsea did have a massive stand here where they won 7 in a row, which that's too many for them. I don't know how they're so good in the European Super League, but they are. And then after the turn of the century, it's still Chelsea for the first 10 years, then Bournemouth coming to fruition, and they have absolutely had the league in a chokehold in the last 10 or so years, winning 9 leagues since the year 2110 and coming second on 3 occasions as well. So the years that they didn't win, besides this one in 21-21, they have been the best team by far as of late. Having a look at who's won the most Super Leagues, it's clearly Chelsea. They've won 32 now, which is outstanding. The next best is Real Madrid with 20 Super Leagues, which is also just ridiculous. After Man City, it is Barcelona, who only have 10, so they haven't really won that many more since we last checked. And then we have Bournemouth, who are 4th, which I would not have put my money on Bournemouth winning any of the European Super Leagues, but they've won 9, and I really don't know what to say about that. The league has gotten so weird that since 21-11, only one major team from today has won the Super League, which is Real Madrid in 21-14. And since then, we've got Birmingham winning one, Maccabi Haifa winning one as well, and it's just ridiculous. Speaking of Maccabi Haifa, which I'm definitely saying wrong, since the start of the simulation, they've won every single league possible so far. Winning Division 6, Division 5, Division 4, Division 3, Division 2, a cup, and of course a Super League a couple seasons ago. Moving back to the league table, there are a few teams in here which you would not expect, like Ural, but let's go have a look for other teams that have really taken a fall. Starting off with Div 2, we've got Liverpool, who were at the top of the league pretty much last time we checked in, are now in 17th. And then we have Bayern getting relegated, which is a massive fall from grace. Moving on to Division 3, we have some more fallen giants with Aston Villa and Juventus. With Aston Villa, as we know, they won that league in 2034, around about then. And since then, they've really struggled. But Juventus actually won the league once in 2040-something. And they've now fallen down to Division 3 as well, which is really sad for them. The only other really big name that I can see in the really low divisions is Dortmund, who are now in Division 4, which is just a really, really sad state of affairs for them. Coming on over to the Cup now, and when we last checked in, there was heaps of different teams winning it, like Tottenham and Anderlecht, and it's pretty much stayed around the same as that, with heaps of different teams winning it. Maccabi Haifa winning it a few times, and then you've got Bournemouth, West Brom winning one, Inter, just heaps of other teams, Everton, like it just kind of gets spread around, which I actually quite like that. Now, in really long saves like this, and especially in a league where all the best teams are in, you would think that there's some giant transfers, and let me tell you, there is a number in here that is just crazy. Isan Akbulut, I'm definitely saying that wrong, was sold from Bournemouth to Chelsea for £308 million. £308 million. That is insane. And taking a look at him, he really wasn't that successful. Having a look at his personal achievements, he never won a Ballon d'Or. He was only shortlisted for the best FIFA men's player, and he only won the Super League like 3 times, I'm pretty sure. And you would think for a player who sold for 300 million, he would play for a bit longer than 34. He must have been really good at the time. He was obviously a defender because he only ever scored 69 goals, which is nice. But for 308 million, you would have thought that you're getting the best player that's ever touched a football ever. Now, I'm sure you guys want to go into who's won all the Ballon d'Ors and that kind of stuff. So let's simmer forward another 100 years until we're 200 years into the future. And that's when I'm going to stop simming and go through everything that I can think of. Finally, it is finished simulating. We're in the year 2223, so 200 years into the future, and let me tell you, some things have gone on. We last checked in with Bournemouth winning everything in the year 21, 22, 23, and since then, they have won no more leagues. They haven't won a single one. Let me show you. So we had Milan absolutely dominating the league after Bournemouth gave up. And then it was Tottenham for a while, and you see a few Chelsea's in here because they went back to just being the best. But it was mainly just Chelsea, and then we had a few Man Cities and Man Uniteds, but mainly Chelsea for a few years and Man City, and then we have Real Madrid coming back into the fold, and then as of late it's been Man United and Inter, with Bournemouth still coming in the top 2 a couple years ago. Now, I've spoken a lot about Chelsea in this, and that's because they've now won 64 European Super Leagues, which means they've won the league over 30% of the times that it's been run so far, which is just crazy. In terms of winners, next up on the list is Real Madrid, who've won it 28 times, which is also a lot of times, but it's nothing compared to 64. After Real Madrid, we have Manchester City, who've won it 16 times now, which is just... that's what I would have expected at the start of the sim. I wouldn't have expected Bournemouth to have won it 9 times, but Man City to win it a few times, I would have definitely expected that. After Man City, there's a mixture of Man United, Milan, Inter, and also Barcelona, who have won the league heaps of times, as well as Tottenham. So they're all kind of a conglomerate around 10 to 15. Moving back to the league this year, we can see Bayern have made it back up into the Super League, which is really good for them. And if we go down into Division 3, Juventus and Aston Villa are still stuck in here, but we now have PSG and Arsenal also down in Division 3. The biggest fall from grace though that I have seen is Barcelona, who are now in Division 4D. They have won the Super League like 10 or 12 times and now they're stuck in Division 4, which is just not so good for them. Moving back to the Cup, it's still just an absolute cluster of teams winning it. Chelsea win it 3 times in a row here, but you've got teams like Krasnodar winning it a few times, West Ham, like Hull winning it. It's just a lot of teams winning this. And I have gone back through every single transfer, and Ihsan Akbulut is still the biggest transfer by far, and he never won a Ballon d'Or. Speaking of the Ballon d'Or, there are a few players who've equaled Messi's record of 8, which is just crazy. Starting off with Denilson, who won his first one at 27. He ended up winning 8 Ballon d'Ors in 9 years, and he came second in the only year that he didn't win it. He also came second in 2086-87, so he could have really had 10 if he was just a bit more lucky. And there is also this guy, Christian Duarte, who won it on 8 occasions, as we can see right here. Now, unfortunately, from around the year 2150 and on, all the Saudi Arabian clubs seem to just have the buying power to just absolutely buy all the best players. And if you have a look, they pretty much win every Ballon d'Or that there is, which just kind of ruined the experiment, I guess, at the end, but I'm about to explain why. Coming back to the Super League, if we have a look at the team who just won it, which is Inter, if we have a look at their bank balance, they're in the red 262 million, and that's the case for pretty much every single Super League team. Now, I'm not really too sure why that's the case. I don't think the prize money's been set up correctly, or the TV revenue money has been set up correctly, but the league still worked, so I'm very happy with that. And it probably meant that teams were yo-yoing around the leagues much more, which actually ended up with some good results. Now moving over to the World Cup, 200 years into the future, there's been some really crazy things happen. Taking a look at the past winners, it took all the way to the year 2126 for a major team to not win it. So Mexico were the first weird team to actually win the World Cup, and they won it in 2126, followed by Serbia. After that, it gets really weird, because in 2170 we have China winning the World Cup, and then they came runners-up 3 years in a row, which is so bad for them. But around that time, it starts to get really whack, because then we have Scotland winning one, Switzerland winning one, China coming back and winning another one, and then they came runners-up in 2214. The most recent winner is Spain, and as you can see, Spain have been pretty much the most dominant team. They won 4 in a row here, 2 in a row here, and yeah, they won a few sprinkled in throughout. But that puts me on to one more thing, and that is I want to give a huge shout out to Emerald DB, who actually made this database. I've left a link to it in the description. I'm pretty sure he has a YouTube channel, and if I can find that, I'm going to link that down below as well. But that will be the end of this experiment. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully it's given you something to look at, and it's been really exciting. I really enjoyed doing it. It did take a lot longer to sim than I was expecting, so that's probably why there's been a bit of a delay between this video and the last one. And finally, if you haven't liked or subscribed, please make sure you do so. It really helps me out. If you like this video, please let me know down below in the comments. And if you have any other kind of challenges you want me to do, also let me know. I'd love to do whatever you guys want me to. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.